Good evening and welcome to the gathering place. It is a beautiful Thursday summer evening. So glad that you could join us, and I believe that God is going to give you revelation tonight for your life. And the title says, "Don't let the times we live in lead you," but in parentheses says, "or UFOs." So I am going to talk about that just a little bit because I don't want people being confused about it. But let's start off by I want to make a couple of announcements. Number one, that we have prayer Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You can see it up there on the board. 7 to 8 Monday, 7 to 8:30 Wednesday, Thursday 6 to 7. Tomorrow, Friday 10 to 12, and Saturday 9 to 10. So whenever you can, join us for that. And then let me go over here because I want to continue to promote this movie. The last I heard, it had done $125 million. It's called The Sound of Freedom. And what it's doing, it's exposing the sex trade industry. It's exposing, they're kidnapping and using these children just for all kinds of wicked things. Anyways, this is exposing all of that. And if there was no market for it, it wouldn't be happening. Just, why do they still, import drugs here? Because people are using them. Well, people are using this stuff, and America's the worst offender. And so this needs to go nationwide, needs to be in the conscience of America. I think that the people that did this are some of the most courageous people in the world. To do this, and Jim Caviezel and I forget the name of the guy that produced it, directed it, but they're some of the bravest people in the world because they're exposing things that people that have billions of dollars don't want to be exposed. But it has to come out. Of course, we're going to have Julie Green here on November 4th of this year. And then also, if I get to it. Nope, I didn't see it. Anyways, let me see. It's got to be here. There it is. Dr. Barry Linhart is going to be here on August 17th and through the 19th. So I think he might even do the prayer thing in the morning with the piano. So you don't want to miss that. He is, I think he's one of the best revelators in the country right now. He may not have the biggest name, but you listen to him revelate, he's just on another level. So you want to make sure that you're here for those meetings. And then let's go ahead and we're going to get started. I wanted to read this verse, even though it's not what I'm going to teach on for the offering, but I wanted to read it because it's where we are in the New Testament in Thessalonians. And it says, "And that you study to be quiet and to do your own business and to work with your own hands as we have commanded you, that you may walk honestly toward them that are without, and that you may have lack of nothing." I remember in the 1980s, in 79, 80, people were believing, they were buying lottery tickets and believing God to win the lottery. And which is the love of money. It's the wrong spirit. It's the love of money is the root of all evil. And people would come to Kim Clement and say, "Can you give me the numbers for the lottery," or whatever. And he said, well, why would I give it to you? I was just using it myself. But that's not what prophets. The prophets aren't to help people win the lotteries. So a lot of people thought the prophets were some kind of strange psychics or financial psychics. But what Paul was saying is everybody needs to work with their own hands to do something, to have a job, to make money that they can, that they're taken care of, that they don't have lack. Now I realize that in America, we're in a little bit of a situation where they've made it difficult on businesses. They pretty much tried to destroy business in 2020. And actually they did. They destroyed a lot of businesses. Here in California, we had a surplus. Now we are not in a surplus because we've ran out so many tax-paying businesses from our state. And now they're kind of in a panic mode in Sacramento because they've run so many taxpayers, not just the businesses, but so many people out of California. But as you know, I believe that God is going to transform all of those things. So then just a couple thoughts. This is the one I really wanted to get to, and it's not even on there. So we have to go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 3. I like to title this, if I title this, and this is just an offering, if I titled it, I would title it, Giving by Wisdom. You know, there was giving under the law, there was giving, under the promise, we give under grace. But Solomon, he talked about how to give the tithe, but he talked about it by wisdom. So you're not giving by the letter of the law, you're not giving by the law, you're giving by wisdom. So in Proverbs 3, verse 9, it says, honor the Lord with thy substance. In other words, every time that God gives you something, that he blesses you, you bring it back to him as an honor. You honor him with it. And he said, with the first fruits of all thine increase. You know what's amazing about the book of Proverbs is how many times it talks about wisdom prospering you or God prospering you. And it's because of wisdom. Here he's saying this is you give by wisdom. He says, so shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine. Well, Bob, I don't have any barns, and I don't have presses with wine. Those were the businesses of the day. That's what they used in the day. Today it would be the business you're in, whatever you're doing. God will meet you where you're at. He will give you divine ideas. And so that's what he did. That's what he did with them. With that, we're going to receive our offering tonight. So if the ushers would help me out, and if you are making out your checks, please make them out to the gathering place or those that give to Soaring Ministries. That's my ministry. You could do it to that. And then if you want to text it in, we have it up there on the board. And if you're on our website, it should tell you how to give. So we'll give you just a second to do that. Shh. It's so quiet in here, I'm annoyed. I thought I would make just some arbitrary noise. Anyways, pray with me. Heavenly Father, I thank you that you sent Jesus to be my everything and all. I thank you that you made me part of the heavenly family by making me one with him. And Lord Jesus, as the head of the body and my high priest, I ask you to bring my tithes and offerings, present them unto our Father as an offering in righteousness and as a sweet savor. And Father, I humble myself by reminding you of your promises. You told me to prove you in this way, and I receive the opening of the windows of heaven to pour out a blessing there's not room enough to receive. And I thank you that you're rebuking the devourer for my sake. Amen. Amen. Go ahead, ushers, and receive the offering. And while we are doing that, we can get started. So we've been teaching on righteousness through the New Testament, God's righteousness through the New Testament, but we're in Thessalonians, and there's not a whole lot about it, but I thought this would be a good time to maybe touch on a little bit of end-time stuff. Now, I'm not an end-time teacher. I'm not called to do that, and the reason why is because, like all end-time teachers, I don't want to be wrong. Nobody got that. Nobody got that. All end-time teachers are wrong. You understand that? There hasn't been one that's been right. And they're worse than wrong because they lead you astray, give you false hope, and you have hope to get delivered, or they're literally leaving you as children. They give you a hope so that you're saying, deliver me, get me out of here, instead of, hey, you're supposed to be a son ruling and reigning. So you need a sergeant to give you the kick and say, hey, Quit griping about your circumstances. Quit seeking your circumstances. Seek the Father. Seek intimacy with God, and God will then deal with your circumstances. Circumstances are to distract you. Stuart, come here for a second. Okay. Just look right at me. So you see what Rodney's doing there?
No.
Well, can you take a look? See?
Yes.
So if we were fighting and I said, and I looked like that and he looked, he was smart though, he didn't look. Then I could just hit him. Thank you.
Yeah.
But once I forced him to be distracted, then he was open. So that's what the enemy does. He distracts us from the truth with circumstances. Paul never really worried about his circumstances, nor did Jesus, but they had amazing intimacy with the Father. So what we want to do is we want to build that amazing intimacy with the Father and not allow the circumstances of the day to distract us and to take our attention. I didn't even get an amen. Nobody believes that. No wonder you're all messed up. I better start. So in Thessalonians he says, "But I would not have you ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep," and of course he means those that had passed on, "that you sorrow not even as others which have no hope." I still see this at Christian funerals. If it's a baby or a child or something, I understand it more, but if somebody served the Lord all their life, why are you sitting there weeping? You should be rejoicing. I mean, maybe there's a time to weep because you're sorry that you can't talk to them. But when my mother passed on, she'd served the Lord all her life. She lived a good, long life. I didn't sit and weep about it. I was grateful to God. I was thankful. She'd served God. I go, man, when a person like that goes home, they have a parade. And so that's what he's saying here. He's saying even in death, he goes, when we lose somebody, we have to be rejoicing because of what's happened to them. Because we have hope. Is that right?
Yes.
For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so, them also which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. Pretty simple. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, with the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. What does he mean by that? He means that the bodies of those that are here will be resurrected. Now, are there anybody with physical bodies in heaven? Yes or no?
Yes.
Well, quite a few. Yeah, there are. Well, obviously Jesus. But all the people that were resurrected, some tradition says it was like 500 people that were resurrected. And I don't remember Elijah dumping his body, Elijah, or Enoch. So there could be more than you know. And if God didn't want you to have a body, he wouldn't have given you one in the first place. Oh, but I want to be a spirit so I can just float through everything. Well, no. Your body is an amazing gift from God. And because we have issues with it on the earth, we tend to curse our bodies and we tend to not thank God for our bodies. Thank God for your body every day. So Lord, I thank you for this body that you give me. I thank you. It's amazing. Because you're going to have it forever and ever. It's going to be a little bit better. It's going to be able to do a few more things. So he's saying here, you're going to get your body back. Then we which are alive remain shall be caught up together with him in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore comfort one another with these words. Now why is Paul saying these things to the Thessalonians? Because there were people that were coming and saying, well, the Lord's already come. And what about those that are dead? Are they going to just remain in the graves? And what about, So there were questions about eternal life and what was happening. And Paul, from a heavenly perspective, explains what's going on. As a matter of fact, he explained the way the Lord would come from heaven with a shout. Like, he's not going to be in a warehouse holding a special meeting. Oh, man, do you hear about this guy? He's Jesus. He said he's a Messiah. And he came back. He came back because he wanted to hang out, because he saw all the problems on the earth. Even though the Bible says he's come with a shout, he came a different way. He's over here at this warehouse. Let's go see him. That's not him. He goes on to say, 1 Thessalonians 5, but of the times and the seasons. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. I meant to talk about this a little bit. I want to talk about UFOs. Because it's in the news, they're having hearings on it on Capitol Hill. People are talking about it, everybody's wondering about it. So I just want to tell you what I think about it. And you can have your opinion different than mine. Maybe you know some things I don't know. But this is what I believe. If aliens are extragalactical, why aren't they just everywhere? Why do we all know about them? Why are they all hidden? I had people years ago in our church that they'd been taken out of, they went to these special training things to be taken out of cults because they'd been kidnapped when they were young and they were traumatized, put into cults. And they said there were people there that were hybrids. That's actually possible. And I said, well, tell them I'd like to meet them. They didn't want to meet me. You know why? Because they don't like the words come out. Or they don't like the words I bind you in Jesus' name. They don't like that kind of stuff. Because human beings have authority and dominion on the earth. Now, these so-called aliens and UFOs, they don't have anything. Chuck Missler he worked for NASA, and he was a brilliant Christian. And he said top physicists of the day, and he named off a couple of them, I don't remember their names, but they weren't Christians. They were atheists, as a matter of fact. They said that these craft that were operating in our atmosphere were not extragalactical. They didn't come from outer space, but they were interdimensional. In other words, they came through portals of a dimension, spirit dimension. Well, how do you open up spiritual portals? Well, you give blood sacrifices. If you give enough blood sacrifice, abort enough babies, give enough blood sacrifices, you can begin to open up portals. So they're trying to open up these portals to these other dimensions. We know, Christians have known there's other dimensions because we know that God lives in the dimension called the spirit dimension. We've known that forever. But now people are just now recognizing there's other dimensions. They're making movies about it. Except their other dimensions they're like Earth-like dimensions. But no. They're different dimensions. Twilight Zone had it right. It was a dimension outside of this earthly dimension. And so that's the spirit dimension. And a lot of these beings, they're trying to come across. Many of them have lived on the earth before. They're trying to come across into our dimension. Now it said in the book of Enoch, when the watchers came, these watchers, they were given a commission by God to watch the people of the earth, to keep a watch on them, to help them. But then they said, well, we want families. So they took wives, and they had children which became abomination, and they became the Nephilim. But it said these different watchers taught the people how to work metals, how to make weapons, how to use makeup. Can you imagine if they had never taught people how to use makeup? Just think how much simpler your lives would be for the women. The women's lives would be so much simpler. But once you've been putting it on for 20 years, you can't walk out and people will go, who's that? I don't even know who you are. Of course, the cosmetic companies and stuff, they're wanting the men to start wearing makeup because it's make some money out of it. So, why is the government releasing this stuff? Well, anytime the government does something on the left side, always look to the right side. A magician will go while they're doing something over here. It's distraction. All this stuff is coming out to distract us from what's going on because all of the darkness is being revealed in Washington. All this stuff it seems like something's coming out every day. Corruption's coming out every day. It's all being revealed, and it's to distract us. The Sound of Freedom, nobody wants to talk about it, except it's killing it in the box office. People are seeing it everywhere. And so they're afraid that it's exposing the child trafficking that's been going on all over the world for years. This UFO stuff is a distraction. Are there aliens? I think that they're, as Chuck Missler said, interdimensional beings. They don't have any authority on the earth. The reason that you hear about that, well, it's just something I've noticed because I have actually talked to several people that were abducted. They were all involved in witchcraft. I can't say it's for everybody, but a lot of people that have been abducted have been involved in some kind of witchcraft. Bob, could I be abducted? Only by the angels of God and the Holy Ghost. They wanted to take you to heaven and show you something, but other than that, no. Are you kidding? Those things, they don't want anything to do with the blood of Jesus. They don't want anything to do with you. They're scared to death of you. Trust me on that. Well, people buy into that. There was a couple lights out here in the sky one night, and people that I know were driving. They said, "Oh my God, is it UFOs?" And I said, "Listen, it's not UFOs." But I wasn't even there, and they were. I said, "It's not UFOs. You've just been listening to all the propaganda on the television, and you're buying into the narrative." Of course, it wasn't. It was one of the planets was aligned, and it was brighter that night, and it was with another one. And of course, it wasn't UFOs. And a lot of so-called UFOs are they're really just American spacecraft that are advanced. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Will we know more about it in the future? Yes. Will we ever know who shot JFK? No. No. We might know. So I wanted to throw that out there because these are things that are distracting people, distracting Christians, making them wonder about their faith. And I want us to have a correct end-time doctrine so that we're growing up in the Lord, so that we're growing into sons of God and not worried about, well, what's going on in the election? What's going on with the UFOs? What's going on with Russia? No. We're to pray against that stuff. We're to pray against these wars. The Bible said, Jesus said, there'll be wars and rumors of wars. And isn't it interesting? Well, I better not even say that. I want to leave this on YouTube. So, chapter 5, 1 Thessalonians. But of the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you, for yourselves know perfectly the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. He said they understood end-time doctrine really well. He goes, you guys know this doctrine perfectly. For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So what he's saying is, those who don't know God, it's going to be as a thief in the night. But those that know God, they're going to know everything that's going on. We know what's going on before it happens. We knew what was going to happen to Anheuser-Busch before it happened. I guess most of you didn't, but I did anyways. So we knew what was going on. There were prophecies about it. We know what's going on, but those who don't, they're the ones that don't know. So we got distracted in the 1970s by false doctrine. And I don't want to say evil of the people that brought this stuff forth. I think they were genuine with the Lord. I believe in their hearts they were genuine with the Lord. But they were teachers, they were not prophets. And if you're going to be, there are prophets who are teachers. They're ones who bring revelations. Apostles bring revelations. But teachers are not necessarily the ones that bring forth new doctrines to transform things. So there were very, very smart people that went into the scriptures, dug out things from Daniel, and this is 70 weeks, and then it stopped here at week 69 and went on for a couple thousand years. Oh, okay, just week 69, we're going to take a 2,000-year break. It just doesn't make sense. Listen, a lot of things that people are looking for the end times, or were at least in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, they happened 2,000 years ago. A lot of those things happened in 70 AD. If you're on the rooftop, don't go back into the house. Just get out of there. Who lives on the rooftops? Those are people of that era. Are you with me? Yeah. Paul is telling us we're not going to be taken by surprise. So listen, I don't care what goes on. We're not going to be taken by surprise by anything. Say, well, Bob, the economy's going to this and da. You can panic about everything, but if you're walking with God, He's going to direct your steps. He's going to lead your steps. In 1 Thessalonians 5:4, he says, "But ye brethren are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief." So here we're making movies, Thief in the Night. Now maybe they're making them for people to get saved, but they're making movies Thief in the Night, and Christians are in there going panicking. But it's not, for us, it's not as a thief. We know what's going on. Why? Because we're in the Spirit. That's why we know it's hundreds of years away. I had somebody ask me, they go, Bob, I'm going to be with one of my relatives, and they're Foursquare people, and they believe that Jesus is returning in the next 3 years. And I said, oh my God. I said, there's always going to be that kind of stuff coming up. But I know at least 4 prophets have seen beyond 2050, beyond 2060. I said, tell this relative of yours that I could use some extra money, and I would like to bet them $25,000. And we'll make a date. You can make the date to 3 years. We'll put it in an account, which you will oversee. At the end of the three years, you'll get interest. At the end of the 3 years, I'll take my $25,000 winning. Are you that confident? Yeah, I'm that confident. I've tried to make bets like that 10, 15, 20 years ago. Just imagine if I'd had anybody taken me up, I'd have made so much money. The gambling is not of God, I understand, but it's just, we're having fun. He said, you're not in darkness that you should overtake you as a thief. So all this UFO stuff, it shouldn't overtake us as a thief. It's a distraction. It's demonic. These things are interdimensional. This one guy got so caught up in aliens that he visited an alien named Jesus. And eventually, he didn't believe in God anymore. He was a spirit-filled guy too. He was a guy that was pretty spiritual, but he got so caught up in seeing things. You have to have foundation in the Word. He said, you are the children of the light and the children of the day. We are not of the night. We are not of the darkness. So we know what's going on. We're not afraid of what's going on. So don't get caught up in this stuff. You're going to hear all kinds of, they've been letting this stuff through little by little over the last year or so because they've been doing this for years. Listen, I think there are things that really have come through. I think that what happened, it was at 1951 or 47, whatever, the Roswell thing. I think that something did happen, that something came through, that they did get equipment from another dimension. That's why it's different. Again, I'm quoting Chuck Missler on that. Guy that worked for NASA, who knows, who's seen things. All right. Let's move on. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. For they that sleep, sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. When you get drunk, when you do it at night. But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for a helmet the hope of salvation. So from the 1970s, when we were looking for Jesus to return, they took prayer out of school. When did abortion start? When was that? 73. So they took prayer out of school, abortion started. So they did all these things while people were looking to get rescued from the earth. While the Christians were looking to get rescued, they came in. They distracted us. The demons distracted the church instead of learning their sonship, they were distracted. So now we're learning about the seven spirits of God, and the Holy Spirit's been talking to us a lot about that. Why? Because they are mentors, they are tutors and governors, as it talks about, I think in Galatians or Colossians. But they talk about them being governors, tutors, to raise us up. For what? To reign and to rule. Now, in Proverbs 8, it says, one of the things that the Spirit of wisdom does, wisdom says, by me, kings reign, and princes decree justice. You know, we're saying, well, you can't get justice anymore today, you know. There's a woman in San Francisco running on the street naked, shooting at people. She hasn't even been charged. So where's the justice? See, we're looking for justice, but it takes wisdom to have justice. These people are these people that have this kind of this woke doctrine, woke ideology. They think, well, we're helping, you know, we're helping people that are in bad circumstances. No. You're enabling them.
Yeah.
I know one thing because I had a relative on my wife's side that he had a drinking problem. He went to Betty Ford, and what we learned was you don't enable these people. You know, we're giving them needles and crack pipes and everything else. So we're enabling people. They think it's compassionate, but it's the opposite of compassion. You know, when I was, at a certain point, I was training a couple of kids in martial arts. When the Lord he was drawing me back to that studio to get people saved. But I was training a couple of kids, like 3 or 4 kids. And, you know, I came from kind of a rough area, so every time we did a session, we would spar. You know, I made sure they went at each other. And so there's another kid, he came from another place, and he had like 2 belts ahead of the guys that I was training. But they never sparred. Also, he sparred with all the guys that I was training, and they just crushed him. Why? Because they had been in combat. They practiced they'd known what it was like to get hit. You know, if you're going to be tough and survive in a fight, the sensei that I had, we used to run on the concrete or run on the gravel and run on glass, everything. They'd line you up and kick you at the end of every session. No, I mean, it's just the way it was. It was just, that's how we practiced. We fought hard. I mean, did we get injured sometimes? Yeah. But then you knew what it was like to take a shot. You knew what it was like to be trained. So we're mollycoddling these people instead of we should make it harder for them. We should make it impossible for them to where they have to say, I need to sober up. I need to get my life right. They're doing the exact wrong thing in the name of compassion. Anyways, it's my 2 cents. Elect me, vote Bob for governor. I don't know, after I had that political dream the other day, it made me wonder. But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, for a helmet, the hope of salvation. Okay, let's move on. This is why we must not fall asleep as the rest do, but keep wide awake and clear-headed. For those who are asleep, sleep in the night, and this is actually the same passage, but this is the Passion Translation. Sleep the night away, and drunkards get drunk at night. But since we belong to the day, we must stay alert and clear-headed by placing the breastplate of faith and love over our hearts and a helmet of hope of salvation over our thoughts. So we have to have the hope of salvation and not the please rescue me, Jesus, but knowing that he is coming. We need to have that hope so we don't get taken out. Like the Thessalonians, they kind of got taken out because they thought that Jesus had already come or he was coming right away. Paul had to straighten them out. But let's continue on. I'm getting ahead of myself. God has not appointed us to wrath, but to obtain salvation by our Lord Jesus Christ. So God hasn't appointed us to wrath? Now that's not, your destiny is not to have wrath come into your life. Oh, but the early Christians, they fed them to the lions. I understand. We're living in different times. The grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the justification of righteousness going through the land stop that kind of stuff. But if we don't fight, they'll be feeding the Christians to the lions again. If Christians don't stand up as who they are, well, how do I do that, Bob? You go in and you pray until you come to a place where you feel the authority and the dominion of God, and then you begin to ask God, what do you want me to declare over our state or over our nation? These are the things that God's wanting us to do in prayer. That's going to be done in prayer. And then also anything that you see that's demonic, you immediately begin to pray against it. You break the authority and the dominion of it. You can already see that they push this trans thing so hard, and it destroys the people that it comes. They're using these people. But you can see the pushback has come really hard. Why? Because people are praying. They're going, you know what? We better stop this freight train. That's right. Or it's going to run us over. Amen. We have not been appointed to wrath, but to obtain salvation by our Lord Jesus Christ, who died for us, that whether be awake or sleep, whether we're here on the earth living or we've gone on to be with him, we should live together with him. Wherefore comfort yourselves together and edify one another, as also as you do. So edify yourself with this, that whether you're here or whether you're there, you're going to be with him. In other words, don't get caught up in all the rigmarole about the Antichrist. I remember when Obama came to office, they had all these teachings out there, and they were showing through the scriptures how he was the Antichrist. He may very well be the Antichrist. No. I think he's an Antichrist person. I think he was one of the best liars we've ever seen. There came a point when he would talk, and I would almost get sick because I knew he was lying. My one daughter said, I said to her, you know how I know he's lying? She says, how's that? And I go, because his lips are moving. After a while, everything he was saying was just a lie. There was a prophet, I was actually listening to him today, actually. There was a prophet talking, he had actually met him in 2006. Their paths kind of crossed. They were just walking by each other, but he knew who he was. And he said he felt this, and this prophet's a very accurate prophet, very seasoned prophet. He said he felt immense evil. And that guy did a lot of damage. I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, until he didn't. If you want to keep your doctor, you can. I remember after my health insurance had gone up 300-fold, and my wife had gone to the doctor, and she got there, and they said, we don't take Obamacare. And she said, well, we have Blue Cross. No, it's Obamacare now. She couldn't keep her doctor. Bob, is that why you're upset about that? Because it was personal? No, I just like other people felt the personal of it. That it was devastating for us personally. How many other people? But he was a good liar. And listen, good liars can get things done. Because by the time they finish deceiving you, it's all over and it's done. That's why we have to have discernment. We have to know the truth. There's a lot of truth that we know now that we didn't know just a couple of years ago. Because God is revealing the truth. Awful quiet in this Episcopalian church. Like I said, this is not really my normal subject matter, but I think there's a couple things that I have to say about it that are probably worth listening to. Now in 2 Thessalonians 2, we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand, or in other words, Christ has already come. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Now, I just have to stop here for just a second because this is something that kind of gets me. When you look at the word righteousness in the New Testament, righteousness or just or justified, It's like, I don't know, probably 1,000 times in there. And it says the ministry of the new is what? It is the Holy Spirit and it is righteousness. And so you have all of these scriptures telling us what God has given us. And there's not a single scripture that talks about the person called Antichrist. You have this right here, the man of sin. It says Antichrist at 1 John and 2 John 3 or 4 times. But it's talking about the spirit of Antichrist. So we're sitting there giving the Antichrist all of this stuff, giving all this acclaim, and then everybody that comes up we don't like, that's Antichrist. And it doesn't even talk about him. It's the spirit of Antichrist, and then you have here the man of sin be revealed. So there is a man of sin that will be revealed, but it's barely spoken of throughout all the New Testament, and we're making a big deal about it. Why? Well, why do you watch the news when you know everything in there is bad? What good thing is ever reported? Now listen, there's some things that you need to know, so I understand watching the news, but when do they ever report good news? Yeah. The neighbor found his neighbor's fluffy little new poodle and brought him back to her, you know. And they all had rejoicing and had a party and decided to have a party about it and have a cake together. Nobody's listening to that. Nobody's watching that. Almost every movie about the future is an apocalyptic future. I'm just here to tell you that none of that's going to happen. We're not having World War III with Russia. It's not going to happen. We're not having World War III with China. These things aren't going to happen. There's like maybe 1 or 2 movies. I know one that I can think of is Back to the Future, where the future was better. But other than that, they're all, it's all the apocalyptic. They're walking around like this. The actors. It's all hard. Life's so hard. But I'm pushing through. There's no joy in that. There's no joy of the Lord. The kingdom of God is righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Ghost. Why are Christians buying into a demonic narrative? The Christians are the ones that taught the narrative that Hollywood was pushing. The Hollywood and the Christian narrative were the same. They were apocalyptic, desolate worlds. It's the same narrative. Well, Bob, the world is overpopulating. We don't have enough resources. You could fit all the world right now into the state of Texas and everybody have room. That's how much room there is on the earth. And there's all kinds of resources. There's all kinds of things that you don't even know about that are available, that they've been holding back. Well, because you need to make money. You don't bring out computer 10 until computer 9's been there on the for about a year. But then when computer 9 starts having some issues, then you bring out computer number 10. You bring out the next one. So there'll come a falling away. The man of sin shall be revealed, the son of perdition. He just better not be revealed in front of me, because I will kick his rear. Yeah, he can't be revealed in front of you, because you are the kings of the king. You are the body of Christ, and no man of sin is going to override Christ. I'll tell you that right now. How come people were buying into that? The Antichrist is coming, we better hide, they're going to chop our heads off. How are we buying into that stuff? I don't know. I just remember when Kim Clement was first coming to our church, he was singing songs like this. I'm not afraid of the lion's den. I'm not afraid of the fire. I'm not afraid of the 666, and I'm not afraid of the beast. Everybody else was talking about how Antichrist was on the way. Can I tell you kind of a little bit of an end time dream? Just because you guys seem really bored. But I think we still need to know this. So I'm going to break it up a little bit. So this was back in the 90s, and it was maybe Kim Clement had been to our church a few times, and I had this really vivid dream. And in the vivid dream, I picked him up in a white limousine. I took him to the church, but the church was in a park. And all the people from our church were there. And I didn't see all the faces, but they were there. And we got out of the limousine, and I gave him 2 lobsters. 2 big lobsters. And he took one lobster, and he made it for the people to eat. And then he took another lobster, and he made it for me. Because if your pastor's not eating, you're not eating. Or are you eating junk food, you know? I don't want another Tootsie Roll for a sermon, you know. So the dream continued on. And I was in another limousine, but I was with Dr. Eby. Now, in this dream, it didn't look like Dr. Eby. He was a different looking person, but he was Dr. Eby. And so I believe that meant the doctrine. Now, I love Dr. Eby, and I thought he was a man of God. But Dr. Eby, you know, he'd been to heaven. He died, went to heaven, and then he saw Jesus in the tomb of Lazarus. And I just believe that he misunderstood what Jesus said. Like Kenneth Hagin said, Jesus told him something. He misunderstood it for 25 years. Now, Jesus was in front of him in a vision, an open vision, told him something. He misinterpreted it for 25 years. So it's possible. No, Bob, you can't make that. Yeah, yes, you can. Because you're all whacked out. So I'm in this other limousine with Dr. Eby, except he was a younger guy. We get to the park, same thing. Get to the park, and there's all the people. The church. So we get out of the limousine, and I give him 2 lobsters. And he takes the lobsters, and he starts beating the people with it. At that point, I kung fu'd him. Anyways, the shepherd has to watch out, for their flock. And I didn't talk to Kim about it, but the next time we picked him up, this guy was a friend of mine, said, Bob, he goes, I want to pick Kim up in a limousine. And he goes, I'll pick you up first. And he goes, so I'm going to come and get you in a limousine, and then we'll get Kim from the airport. I said, I didn't tell him about the dream. I didn't say anything. I hadn't told anybody. Because who has lobster dreams? Anyways, so I said, okay. I said, all right. So he picks me up. He picks me up in a white limousine. Go to the airport, and we pick Kim up. And that's when I told him the dream. And he said, of course, Bobby goes, you put the ingredients in my hand to feed the people. And he goes, and of course, that's what happened, and to feed you. But then he said, you put them in this other man. And he wasn't feeding the people. And what I believe was the beating the people was false end-time doctrine, was not feeding the people, but it was literally beating the people. It was hurting the people. And that's what the church has lived in, really. I mean, I don't think it's as bad now. But for decades, the church lived in that false doctrine. After the year 2000, it lightened up a little, but it was still going even after 2012 and all that stuff. And so I really believe that God is starting to change the hearts and minds of the people to see that there's a long future ahead of us, that we're not going anywhere in a hurry. And that we should be asking God, show us tomorrow. Like the song, again, the song Kim used to sing, show us tomorrow. Show us tomorrow. Take us out of the old. Take us out of the old, Jesus, into the new. Show us tomorrow. Show us tomorrow. Lord, I want to see your glory. Forever I will be with you. That's the future. Show us your glory. Show us tomorrow. Show us your glory. That's what I'm praying for right now. Bob, you praying to build a church? No, I'm praying for the glory of God. And I'm asking you to come along with me. I'm not trying to build a church, I'm trying to build a habitation. That takes prayer warriors. I just made an extra commitment to the Lord this week about that, about doing that very thing. All right, let's move on. This is the Passion Translation. We just read it from the other one. Now, regarding the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ and our gathering together to him, we plead with you, beloved friends, not to be easily confused or disturbed in your minds by any kind of spirit, rumor, or letter allegedly from us, claiming that the day of the Lord has already come. They were like, did Jesus already come? Did we miss it? Are we the ones left behind? I knew I should never watch that movie, Left Behind. He said, don't let anyone deceive you in any way before that day comes. The rebellion must occur, and the outlaw, the destructive son, will be revealed in his true light, the man of sin. He is the opposing counterpart who exalts himself over everything that is called God or is worshipped, and who sits enthroned in God's temple and makes himself out to be God. Don't you remember that when I was with you, I went over all these things? So he's saying, don't you remember? I went over this stuff with you so you wouldn't be confused about the coming of the Lord. They were thinking it's going to happen now, or it's already happened. That's exactly what happened in 1970. Late great planet Earth. That's exactly what happened. We lost basically a generation of people, maybe a couple, to that mindset. And we're just now, listen, our generation is just now starting to take it back. And we have to pray it over, and we have to pray it and move it into the younger generation, because they're the ones that are going to do the hard work. But we've got to get it to that generation. Because while we were teaching everybody, Jesus is coming, you're going to go, they were bringing Baal worship into the school system. Thank you for the yep. Thank you, Ronnie. But I'll take the yep. 2 Thessalonians. I'm almost done. And now you know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity does already work. Only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way. Then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Now I'm going to read it out of the Passion Translation, because it's just much clearer. Now you are aware of the ruling power, so that he may be fully revealed when his time comes. For the mystery of lawlessness is already active. What is the Antichrist spirit? It's lawlessness. People stop booking conventions at San Francisco, which it's known for, which they make money by that, because the lawlessness is so bad, people can't bring people in there to go to the conventions. Literally, they called in the National Guard to San Francisco this year. Like, that's unheard of because of the lawlessness that's taking place. Now that this woman running down the street naked, shooting at people, hasn't even been booked, what kind of a message does that send to everybody else? That there is no law and there's no penalty. Lawlessness is a spirit of Antichrist. Well, we want to make sure that innocent people, don't get... Yeah, of course, that's what we want to make sure. But somebody who's obviously not innocent, somebody who's, if somebody's burning down a building going, I'm peacefully protesting. Well, no, you're not. But the governances in the country told them to keep their hands down. Say, don't touch them. All right, I better stop. This is very unpopular. Maybe you like burning buildings down. I don't know. For the mystery of lawlessness already active, but the one who prevails will do so until he is separated from out of the midst. Then the outlaw will be openly revealed, and the Lord will overthrow him by the breath of his mouth, and bring him to the end by the dazzling manifestation of his presence. The presence of the outlaw is apparent by the activity of Satan, who uses all kinds of counterfeit miracles, signs, spurious wonders, and every form of evil deception in order to deceive those who are perishing because they rejected the love of the truth that would lead them to being saved. So Satan is not going to seduce you. He's not going to take you out. He's only going to deceive those who don't have a spirit of revelation. Like everybody in the church world that has a spirit of revelation, they're not going to be taken out. What about those that don't speak in tongues? I think they're in trouble. There's more Christians that speak in tongues now than there's ever been, and there's going to be more and more. But those that don't speak in tongues, there's going to be trouble for them. Now, one of the big advocates of not speaking in tongue has a church here in the valley, a big church. I don't want to say his name because I don't want to besmirch him. I think he loves God, but he's confused. He said to his congregation, he goes, on earth, we lose and the devil wins. What? Where's greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world? I don't remember the devil beating Jesus up. I want to be just like Jesus, Bob. Oh, well then let the devil beat you up, because he beat Jesus. No, we don't get beat up. I'll tell you another thing. The man of sin, when that time comes, whenever it is, the Jewish calendar, we have a couple hundred years left. So I say, the coming of the Lord could be within the next couple hundred years. I don't know. Nobody knows. But it could be. It could be within 200 years. I don't know. I am not for certain. What about 10 years? No, it's not coming 10 years. I'll tell you that right now. Go ahead and plan your business. Set your retirement accounts up. He's not coming in 10 years. There are things that have to happen on the earth. The season of Adam's lease on the earth is not over. That season is not over. God gave a lease. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, but he gave Adam the dominion. That is a lease. It's my earth, but I give you dominion over it. That's a lease. You have the dominion over the earth. So in other words, I will not interfere with this earth because you now possess the dominion over it. But then when Adam ate of the tree, he now could no longer receive revelation from God to run the earth properly. Since he could no longer run the earth properly, Satan could then suggest things to people. And because we have the dominion, things could happen on the earth through the dominion of Satan by men. But make no mistake, Satan doesn't have dominion on the earth. Hollywood would make you think so. Every time they show a demon, it just kills and murders everybody, and people are powerless to do anything against it. Was it there's an old movie, War of the Worlds? And they're just blasting everything with these blasters, they're just like the light, just melting things. And so this guy, he's supposed to be a pastor or a preacher or something. He's walking out there. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And he's blown up. That's really not how it works, but that's how they portrayed people of God, because we love. And listen, the New Testament cannot be discerned outside of the love of God. So yes, we do. That is our commandment. That is who we are. And so we don't use power for destruction or to destroy or to hurt people. We use power to bless and to heal and deliver people. And so people of the world, they don't understand that. But Hollywood depicts Christians as weaklings. We're not weaklings. We are powerful. We are the sons of God. We will not be deceived. But I believe that those that don't have a spirit of revelation will be deceived. And like that preacher has thousands of people telling him that Satan has won. He doesn't speak in tongues, has fought against speaking in tongues, has written books against it, trying to besmirch it. And now, any kind of Antichrist spirit that raises his head is like, well, we've lost. What? No. All right. Are you guys extra quiet tonight, or am I just teaching terribly? This must be the worst teaching I've ever done. I think I'm going to go and put in my resignation after tonight. Okay, 2 Thessalonians. Thank you for the encouragement. And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. In other words, they didn't receive the righteousness of God, so they become judged with those who are being judged. But we are bound to give thanks always to God for you, brethren, beloved of the Lord, because God hath from the beginning chosen you to salvation through sanctification of the Spirit and belief of the truth. He's saying, you guys get it. In other words, when Christians are going, do we live through the tribulation? Or is it just the first 3.5 years? Oh my God, how do we buy into such stupid doctrines? Unbelievable. Now, if you want a really good book on the rapture, it's by a friend of mine named Jonathan Welton. It's called Raptureless. I think it's one of the best books ever on the not rapture. Where'd the rapture come from? Jesuit priests concocted it because Protestants were bringing too many people away from the Catholic Church. So they concocted this because with a rapture, if Jesus comes, you still have a chance. You still have a chance to get saved. Oh, that's a rapture doctrine all the way. I like what Cathers says. She goes, let's roll up those rapture rugs. Bob, I believe in the rapture. Well, listen, I'll feel bad for you. I better not say what I really think. I would just say this, that there will come a day when Jesus returns to the earth. But when he does, everybody's going to know it all at once. There's no messing around. Boom. It's going to be known all over the world. Because it's how magnificent he is. And people they're not going to see the Jesus on the cross. They're going to see the Jesus at the right hand of the Father. They're going to see him in all of his glory. Over all the earth. So I do believe he's coming. I just think that we've had such bad end time doctrine that it has destroyed the authority of the church, that we have not been learning who we are in Christ. We have not been learning our identity as kings and priests and as sons of God. Therefore, the devil really squashed a lot of people from walking as sons of God. But that's turning around. Now, if you hear somebody going, hey, there's a really great teaching on Jesus returning, and you want to hear it? Yeah, I love that. I love to be entertained by that stuff. Like, I like that. Like, let's watch that and a flat earth at the video at the same time. Because they're both entertaining. They're both not real, but they're both entertaining. What about Admiral Byrd? What about him? Last one, I think. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, or we not all die, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible. That's when the bodies will come up, and we shall be changed. In other words, we'll be changed right here on the spot. When the Lord comes, if you're still alive, you're still here in your body on the earth, your body's going to be transformed. You're already going to be home, because the earth is our home. He's transforming the earth, the heavens and the earth. They're coming together. But I want to see heaven. Well, you get to see all of that. But you're going to see the earth as what it was meant to be. Now, you can believe what I'm going to say or not, but I'm going to say it. Many years ago, I prophesied that the plates of the earth were going to begin to shift. And that the earth was moving toward a transformation back to what it was meant to be. The early earth was a subtropical earth with a canopy of water over it, covering it completely. That's why UV rays had no effect. That's why the oxygen was double. That's why people were living up to 900 years old until after the flood. What happened after the flood? The canopy of water above came down on the earth. Remember, there was no rain on the earth. It said a mist came up, a mist came up and a dew, and it watered the garden. There was no rain until the time of Noah, but when the water came from up, gushing out of the earth and from above in the heavens, suddenly 2/3 of the earth is now water. But 2/3 of the earth wasn't water back then. Christian scientists have said that the water was so high up that it was so cold, it crystallized the water. And then when the light from the stars hit the water, it made music. That was the earth. I believe the earth is moving back towards what it was meant to be because, let's do this real quickly. If Hunter can make 100,000, hey, I'm... So the early earth, you have this. The earth now, it's kind of like this. Of course, it's more round, but I'm looking for big donations. I have to look like I've been snorting cocaine. Anyways, it works out better. I know I probably shouldn't tell these jokes, but sometimes I just can't help it. So the early earth was like this. And when the Greeks conquered the world, Greek thinking came in, and Greek thinking is linear. That's what Greek thinking is. But that's not how Hebrew thinking is. Hebrew thinking is different. Hebrew thinking is circular. Everything's circular. Everything comes back to the end, from the beginning to the end. So what started at the beginning is going to come back to the beginning. The earth is coming back to the beginning. He said a new heavens, a new earth doesn't mean a whole new planet. God's going to renew the planet. I believe the planet right now is transforming. They say, climate change. Yes. I believe the planet is transforming, that the plates, here's the truth. I prophesied about the plates shifting. You know what? They have been shifting. They say the plates of the earth have been shifting. Why? Because God is bringing the earth back. Now, I'm sure I'm not the only one that prophesied that. There are probably a lot of other prophets. But the earth is shifting. I believe the earth is going to start coming back to its original place. The earth did not have deserts. It did not have, Antarctica. It didn't have frozen tundras because nobody could live there. Now listen, you don't have to accept what I just said. It's just, I'm throwing it out there. This is not the in-stone doctrine that you must believe. But I'm throwing it out there for something for you to consider. And seeing that I was the prophetic voice that prophesied not only the rain coming, but the way that it would come, I think maybe it's possible I might have some insight that God possibly gives me some weather insights or some earth insights. Maybe I have a little bit of insight into this. I think I do. And so I think, I believe this, and I've told this to people before, I believe that we're going to start transforming deserts to gardens. The whole earth at one time was subtropical. I don't believe we're supposed to have winters. But after the flood, it said you're going to have. It was actually after the flood that God said. He goes, there'll be seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter. That was after the flood. But I believe the earth is going to slowly start to transform back. And we are going to have climate change, but it's going to be kingdom climate change. Amen. Not climate change to bring people into a communist mindset to where they don't have anything. You know, I'm telling you, listen, this is what the devil wants. He wants He wants nobody to be able to go anywhere. He wants everybody just to be sitting in front of the TV like this. They can't go anywhere except to the store. And they don't even need to go to the store, they just have it delivered. He wants everybody going maybe to work, maybe to the store. He doesn't want anybody anywhere. And he just wants people to die and to do nothing and to be broke. Satan wants everyone to be broke. All poverty, all sickness comes from hell, comes from him. It does not come from God. Jesus said, pray, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We're a long way from golden streets. I got a lot of praying to do. I got a lot of praying to do to get golden streets. Oh, Bob, you're being silly. Listen, I'm on the golden state, and I'm telling you, it's not golden. I just paid for an alignment on my daughter's car. The guy asked me if she'd been running over curbs. I said, have you been running over curbs? No, but there's a lot of potholes. All right, I better stop before I get in real trouble. Let's stand up. I read the last part to you. In a moment, the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruption must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. That's what's going to happen. Our bodies are going to be transformed. Why not move our bodies in that direction right now? Why not start moving our bodies in that direction? Oh no, Bob, it's appointed man wants to die, then the judge. I know. But why not move our bodies in the direction of incorruption like Moses did? All he did was stand in the presence of God, and from an 80-year-old man at 120, he was like a 30-year-old man. It said his eye was not dim, nor his natural strength abated at 120. You've heard me say it 100 times. Joshua and Caleb, they were there. They weren't as close as Moses, but what happened to them? They went back to they were in their 30s too. Abraham and Sarah, they weren't even standing in the direct presence of God, and they went back to when they were young. It said Abraham's body now dead, neither yet the deadness of Sarah's womb. God didn't just heal her womb. She had to become young. Listen, my daughter just gave birth last week. I'm telling you what, somebody walking around like this isn't giving birth to anybody. That's some hard stuff. You got to be in some kind of shape. I believe in transformation. I believe that God wants to transfer us. All right, what do you want to do now? I don't know, but let's do this. Maybe have Rodney jump on the piano. And I think let's just pray for a moment in the Holy Ghost. For those that are watching online, we love you and appreciate you. And I pray that God's kingdom, His righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Spirit be with you. And I pray that His grace be with you. Have an amazing evening. If you can, please join us on Saturday. Hope to see you then. God bless you.